Hey Argo fans, Daniele Franceschi joining you with the Argos Admirals, and we can finally say that week one has arrived. It's been a while since we've been able to say that we can watch some football. However, this Friday night, your Toronto Argonauts will begin their road to repeat against the Hamilton Tiger Cats at Rogers Center. A special championship ceremony will be happening pre-game. So if you guys are attending the game, we ask that you arrive about 15 minutes early prior to kickoff. The ceremony is set to happen around 6:45 p.m. So make sure you're in your seats early to witness history as the banner goes up to the rafters in the Rogers Center and the team shows off their championship rings. Before we get to that, and I'll have a video preview of that coming up later on in the week, there was some work to be done this past weekend. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday were hectic days for the Argonauts coaching staff and upper management brass as he had to trim down the roster to 46 players ahead of this week's season opener. Now, most notably, there was a lot of changes on the defensive side of the football. 4 defensive linemen were released, 2 linebackers, and 2 defensive backs. Brent Vincent, the most notable in the secondary, he was having a tremendous training camp. Had strong preseason numbers as well. Unfortunately, he broke his ankle, will require surgery, likely of 4 months, and was released by the club. Brian Payton, a linebacker who was also having a tremendous training camp, looking like he was going to solidify himself a position on this team, whether it would be a special teams role or even just a backup linebacker position. He was playing tremendous as well. The most notable name probably on this entire list is Kevin Huntley. Now, Kevin Huntley was released in this final round of cuts very unexpectedly. A lot of fans did not see this coming. Argonauts head coach Scott Milanovich and general manager Jim Barker both said it was one of the toughest cuts they've ever had to make in their entire managerial career. For Jim Barker, he said he loved Kevin, and it was one of the most difficult days that he had as a general manager in the Canadian Football League. Scott Milanovich hinted at him maybe having the age factor come into play, being a little bit too old to perform at a high level. But nonetheless, this team believed that Kevin Huntley could be a veteran leader on the defensive line, considering how many absences they've had and departures that they've had throughout training camp and beyond that, dating back to following the Grey Cup. It was just a few days after the Grey Cup that Ahmad Carroll retired, and then Ricky Foley, of course, leaving during free agency. There's been a lot of changes as well in there. Eric Foster, who was a former Indianapolis Colt defensive lineman, he was also released. Christopher Lyle, who was on the team last year. This is a completely new defensive line. Cleon Lang will likely be in there. Khalif Mitchell is now going to have to be. He's the most experienced player on the defensive line. And as well, there was on the offensive side of the football, Darvin Adams, wide receiver from Auburn University, who had a tremendous collegiate career, looked good in training camp, and also had a few spurts of great play during preseason. He was also released. And most notably on the offensive side of the football, what Argo fans have come to know him pretty well, Gerald Riggs Jr., running back, who was a backup last year behind Chad Cacker, got some action into some game action last year as Cacker nursed an injury later on in the season. He has been released, and it appears that Curtis Steele, who had a tremendous preseason and tremendous training camp, will be the backup come this Friday night. He's earned the opportunity, but Gerald Riggs Jr. certainly a disappointing training camp for him. He played well. It was just unfortunate that Curtis Steele really played better than him and earned this spot. We just wanted to get your thoughts on this entire final training camp cut list. You can see the full list available at argonauts.ca. It's still up there. We've had it up for a few days now, but we want to get your thoughts. So tweet us at Argos Admirals, of course. The official hashtag for this week's CFL kickoff is actually CFL kickoff, all one word together, so you guys can use that as well. And of course, use Argos when tweeting us, and also comment on Facebook. Of course, we'll have a video preview of this week's game later on in the week, but until then, we'll just wanted to get your thoughts on this topic. So of course, as we said, feel free to comment, join in on the discussion. We'll see you later on in the week, Argos fans.